Shalom, I'm Jason Wilson, and welcome to A Moment on the Mat, where warriors lay down their armor, open their hearts, and confront the battles within. This is a space to share the moments that forged us and release the ones that still hold us captive. Today, I share the mat with Malachy Friedman, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who has trained fighters in the UFC, IBJJF, and ADCC. He was also instrumental in coaching the legendary Kimbo Slice in his victory over Ken Shamrock in Bellator 138. Malachy is now the owner of Black Label Martial Arts in Charleston, North Carolina. As we drop our defenses today, we'll dive deep into the moments that shaped his path, both on the mats and in life. But before we begin, knock out that subscribe button so you'll never miss a moment on the mat. Shalom. I was thinking, I first came across you on Instagram, and I love jiu-jitsu. And as I was scrolling, I saw one of your videos. Then I looked at another one, and I went to your feed, and I love how you are a teacher of principle.
I mean, it's strange. I mean, I think you develop your own style of teaching over time, and then you try to figure out what you want to teach, but also what they want to learn. That's the hardest thing for coaches, I think, is they teach a lot for themselves, right? They're like, oh, I want to show this, and I want to show this, and I want to show this. And maybe that's not what that group of people are needing. And they don't need that technique. They don't need necessarily that stuff. So I ended up spending so much time involved in different techniques, like different positions, different stuff. And then I found the things that I was doing that were small details that made the difference made a huge difference in the technique that I was showing and what was being taught to them everywhere else or what's available. And I'm like, well, this is the small details. The smallest details of fundamentals are what the difference between good and very.
Just like the triangle choke you taught us today, I mean, it was rooted in the same principles of why it works, but just a little tweaking of the principle, it made it more efficient and actually more powerful. And so that's definitely a good way to, I guess, to teach. More coaches, I think, should have the freedom to be experiential as far as, in how they teach whomever they're working with.
And sometimes you don't connect. Sometimes I've had a couple of classes where it was just foul balls. You're trying a different way. You're trying to teach something that has worked before. You've tested it, and then it just doesn't hit the room. And you got to allow yourself, if you're going to have very, very good moments of teaching something and something new comes out of it, or it's changing their game, or whatever it is, it's a fantastic day, a fantastic lesson, and people can build off it. You have to also allow yourself to have days that are going to be completely garbage.
Absolutely. Even in here, you want to always have, we call it like a moment on the mat. That's where this show came from, because not only like you have a great moment for us, man, I got the technique right, I nailed it, but also, an emotional breakdown. Maybe it's a traumatic memory of being bullied and someone pressing you and top mount reminds you of that moment, and now you breaking down emotionally.
Right.
And so we call that a moment on the mat, but not every class has that.
Right.
And so we have to be okay with what we're able to teach the boys in that moment. Sometimes I feel as coaches, we may try to stretch to always have that great word. Yeah, force a moment, and then instead of allowing a moment to be.
Right.
I want to pick up a discussion we briefly touched on your childhood coming over here. And what moment in your life, the childhood memory that actually shaped you, whether good or bad,
right?
Were you able to let it go, or were you able to use it as a teaching tool?
I thought I knew what tough was, I had an argument with somebody, and of one of their friends. There was a group of people, and one of their friends, I tried to fight because he was picking out a bunch of guys, and he scurried away and didn't want anything to do. But next day, his friends were waiting for me. I didn't wear glasses or contacts, so I couldn't see anything. And I lived most of my life because I just didn't want to put glasses or contacts on. And I walked straight into a group of people and got jumped. And I didn't feel bad or anything like that, but I didn't like being nervous. I hated the nervous feeling. So yeah, it pushed me to fight all the time. I loved fighting. I was fighting at bars. I was fighting at parties. I was just fighting all the time. And then at some point, it starts to become not advantageous because you're getting in trouble. Because I knew the people I was around. I knew I would say yes to going out. I knew I would say yes to drinking. I knew at some point drinking wasn't, so I don't drink anymore. Because it brings out more aggressive me.
Yeah.
And so I knew that if I was around that, I was never going to say no. If they were going to pick me up, if we were going to drink, if we were going to do something, I was not going to say no.
It's written that bad company corrupts good morals. And so many, I lost both of my brothers because of the environments that they were in to homicide. And so I'm glad you took that path, you know.
We were never into that depth of yeah.
But it could have turned into that. I mean, I know culturally we have different backgrounds, you know. It's not a lot of fighting in our communities. It's more shooting, unfortunately. But I do know that, you know, a fight in a bar or a club could spill into something else, or you can actually die from a fight, you know. And so I'm glad you took that path. I wanted to ask you a question. I have several friends who are in the UFC, and one of them actually flew in town one day just for us to talk. And after about maybe an hour, a conversation about his childhood trauma, it was clear that he was fighting. He became a champion in the UFC. It became clear that he was fighting from the trauma.
Okay.
And so I was just wondering, like, from that moment in your life, from getting beat up by those 7 guys. Yeah. Do you think that played a major role in you wanting to, like, again, you looked at fighting as a way of overcoming this fear or anxiety? It's similar to like the Batman movie, the first one that came out where, well, actually it was the second one. The first one I didn't like, but the second one where Bruce Wayne went across the world trying, you know, overcome his fears.
Right.
But he realized that wasn't the best way of overcoming them. And it was about learning how to release it in a way that's not using our hands, feet, you know, to hurt someone. A lot of times when I had that path, again, I lost both of my brothers and people that I love. And my father, you know, he tried his best, but he just wasn't active. And I had a lot of unresolved anger. And that's why I do so well here, because I know what it looks like when I'm teaching, but I also know the bad side, you know, of me hanging around people I shouldn't be around, and then trying to overcome that feeling of being weak.
I may have become the person that they should have been.
It just get, you know, most people who are bullied, that happens to kids who are bullied. Once you teach them how to overcome it, you got to be careful, because sometimes they become the bully.
Right. I don't necessarily want anything other than to dominate the position. You know what I mean? There's, you can probably tell me better than I can. Go ahead. Emotionally, I feel satisfied. That kind of stuff. So that's why fighting kind of became my life, because I was like, this is something that I enjoy. I also enjoy the technique, like you saw before when I was teaching.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Because that's something that's to me really I love.
How has that helped you in life, though? Has it hindered you or helped you more?
It's a hard question. It's helped and hindered in multiple ways in my life. So I stand up and I take action right away. I mean, I'm not the person that's going to sit back and like let something fester or let something see. If I see there's an issue, I'm going to call it out right in the beginning before it gets any further. Right. And that I think in a lot of ways, having this explosive kind of part of myself, I can yell and I can be aggressive, but I can also really get over it that way. Like so, you know, there's some people that when they're hurt or they're angry and it lapses over for an extreme amount of time, right? And it causes stomach problems, it causes health problems, because you're hanging on to this hate that you have.
How good are you at, so you talked about, you know, not letting things just slide, you know, if you see an issue, you hit it head on. How do you apply that same philosophy to marriage when you and your wife may have some discord?
I think so. I mean, like I get myself in a lot of troubles.
I know you. I can tell.
I get myself in too much trouble. But the thing is that there's nobody on earth that would understand me like she understands.
Absolutely.
Like that's the difference, is that she's hard on me. Like if I do something and I shouldn't be doing it, or if I did something that I shouldn't have done, she's gonna let me know.
When we're wrong as husbands, how do you use that same energy
So that's
solving that issue?
okay. Sometimes that's the hard part. Is sometimes the way I want to resolve the issue isn't the way to resolve the issue with her, right? Like I want, if we yell or we're arguing and there's an issue and we expel a bunch of things that were actually, like, the underlying things, like, well, maybe we're upset about this, but there's 3 other things that we're upset about.
Good.
And I feel like once I let those 3 things out, or you let those, I'm kind of healed. You know what I mean? Because now I'm like, okay, well, they see my side, and I'm trying to make them understand why I'd be upset, and I'm done now.
So do you explode in the conversation with your wife?
I would say not often.
What does Malachy exploding look like with you and your wife?
In my wife, it's good. We had to try not to raise my.
That's good.
I try not to insult her.
Absolutely. Yeah.
These are things that like, I point out things. I kind of beat around the bush with her. She's like, people can be like, oh, alpha male this or that.
Yeah.
She's the alpha male.
She's
the wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and in that relationship, I enjoy it to be that way, because most of the time she is correcting behavior that is wrong.
A lot of us live from the broken boy inside. And so typically something said that shouldn't hurt us or trigger us does, because inside that broken boy hasn't been healed from those childhood moments. I think it's a great thing that you stood up for the person who was being bullied. But then, my only concern as a friend is like seeking out these opportunities to almost like prove yourself. I'm not like you. I wasn't seeking out opportunities to fight growing up, but I was seeking out opportunities to be told I'm great. And as a result of that, I never had the capacity to accept when I was wrong and really lament over it, so that I won't keep making the same mistakes, man. And so
that's intense. I mean, I do a lot of what my dad does. My dad goes on the computer at night. He's a professor, and he goes on professors that.
Yeah. Oh,
right. He goes on the computer, does his stuff. Like, my dad's not a emotionally like show. He shows with what he gives. He shows with his time. He went to all my baseball games and everything else, but it's not an overly affectionate person. And that kind of trickled down to me. I'm not somebody who reaches, touches, and holds. The thing I think is that, like, so a lot of times how I value love is doesn't give my wife the actual thing that she wants, right? Like, she wants affection, intimacy, not just like sex, but hell. And when we're talking about, being present, or being like, I feel like if I'm in the same room as her, I'm spending time with her. She doesn't feel like that. So, and I understand that. I have to understand, but like, she'll be doing something, I'll be doing something else. But if we're in the same room and we can talk back and forth once in a while, or like, I feel like I'm spending time.
What do you do to change that? I mean, like for you,
change more things.
Yeah.
I have to. I have to change more things.
Yeah. And so even with like, like I was looking at your notes as far as in jiu-jitsu, like you have journals of notes of techniques and things that you should do, shouldn't do. I believe it should be the same for us husbandhood.
Yeah.
That we are able to log in. Okay, good. I failed here. How can I recover fast?
Yeah.
And not allow that mistake to happen? How can I not allow him to pass my guard per se?
Yeah.
But in this way, how do I keep my emotions in check where it doesn't get out of hand, where now I have no control and now I'm expressing myself in a demonstrative way towards him?
I feel like maybe I'm making a mistake with because I have a very bad memory, right? So I think it's because of stress more than anything else. I don't think, but I just forget sometimes to show, like, I think about her, you know what I mean? I see her, I think she's pretty. I think, I think good things. But then the next thought is not that. And it leads me down a different path of,
Could it be this? Now, this is interesting. So you have me think I'm similar. So just so you know, if Nicole was in here, she'll be looking at me the same way.
Yeah.
Could it be our fear as men that emotion that you fought to never feel again? Could that repressing or suppressing of that emotion of little Malachy is what hindering the big Jason and big Malachy today to express ourselves more freely?
I would think more than anything else, I'm a stressed out person, right? And I'm trying to put out fires or build things while putting out fires. So I'm trying to make this happen. My priorities are out of whack. So I'm stressing about the business or because I'm very emotionally tied to sometimes my students. I learned that, okay, one of my kids are not coming back, or they're going to another gym, whatever it is. And my emotions and my emergency set-offs to put out fires here and there are prioritized there. But because my wife's always with me, it's not if she had left the house, right, mad at me, not telling me where she's going, that would be number one priority.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's almost like the fires that the things in the business and the things that are going on around me that I feel like are immediate, I have to immediately fix, probably things I don't have to immediately fix. And I should be prioritizing my home life above my work life, but I don't.
But I mean, you hit it right on the head, man, because it's like if we're missing the moment because we're staying in the past.
Right.
We allow trauma to time travel because it was never resolved. And there's a popular term, what is it? The balanced life, like have your life in balance. But let's just say your business, your gym, and you as a jiu-jitsu coach or MMA coach, then you have your wife, your family in this pan. If they're in balance, that means everything gets the same amount of attention. Malachy is addressing here as much as he's addressing here. I advise that we always keep this scale tipped. That way, if we live in balance, that means the most important things in our life that matter the most. You can recover if you lose your business.
All right.
You lose your wife, like you just said, if she just leaves, it's all of this means nothing at that point. And so I try my best to always keep or live with my scale in balance so that I don't miss the moments that are most important, because society tells us that we're just protectors and providers. So now we're constantly in work mode. Our whole identity is in what we do instead of just being. And since we're constantly doing, we start missing these moments.
Right.
And of course, like you said, your dad was at every game.
Every baseball.
Yeah, but something else was missing. It's being present in the room. So now as you look at you as a grown man with your wife, you're in the room, you're in the house, but you're not present because that's what you learn love is.
So there was a point in time where I was a pretty good fighter, right? And I was moving up the ladder. I had coaches wanting to coach me, like higher level coaches, like all kind of vying for my attention, like to listen to them, to take extra coaching from them. And I felt, okay, this is going to be me. This is going to look good. Then I had a training accident where my neck, and I lost my arm. My arm just dropped dead. Pretty much.
You couldn't move your arm?
I could lift it, but I couldn't like even pick up a milk jug. And opening up the door was like hilarious. I'd like hold it, I'd have to like swing it open, and I waited a year, had all these procedures done to try to have it come back naturally. Then I had the doctor go through the back of my neck, pull out the mess that was like making it sort of the tunnels of the nerves. Well, after that, my neck never recovered because they went through the large muscles. So it acted like a whiplash. So I was constantly under whiplash. Wow. So I continued to train. So instead of MMA, then I went to gi and jiu-jitsu. And then I pulled on the gi really hard, and then I dropped again. I had my second surgery, fusion here, right? And I never felt good, really never felt great. And then I'm coaching, I'm doing well with my coaching and things like this. I'm making zero money just to be getting this resume, right? And then when I open up my own gym, 6 months in, my back goes out, right? And I talk to the doctor, and the doctor says, if you bend over, if you show techniques and you do this stuff, you're going to need a very, very, very big procedure for your back. And I said, I don't think you understand. I just opened the gym. This is the one shot I got. I got not only that, people want to roll with me. They want to feel what I feel like, and I can't do anything about it. This is my life. And so for 4 years or 3 years, I just suffered. I things like dropped and got weaker. My foot dropped, my hook, like, the hooks with your feet were for jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. Those became almost just Gumby. Mm. I had the surgery and I'm still in pain daily now, right? So I think the thing is, more than anything else, I became jaded and just wanted to hold on to something so bad. I held on to this stuff for so long. I came from living in a garage, like not even a garage. They made it. It was a garage. They made it into a studio with me and my wife, and then we moved to another small studio condo, and I'm making no money. And there was points where I was where people were coming to train with me. I was the guy that people wanted to work with. I was one of them. I'm not saying I'm the guy, but then my coach says, stay, you're going to be a coach one day, but I'm wearing a neck brace driving kids after school vans. And then my next job is working at the after school. Hey, and then then I have that became like an opening for a fitness coach at the academy. And then slowly there became kids coaches and other things like this, more opportunities showed themselves. But I had to go back down to base zero and still not feel good, still not feel healthy, and take that big thump down to get to a place where I could open up my own school. And then once again, I'm doing jiu-jitsu when I would love to do jiu-jitsu like I used to, all the time. And I just can't, and feel like it was taken away from me, and it's hard to do something that you're so good at, something that you like so much. And then to have that, but then to also constantly worry about finances. Yeah. So I said, well, I got to find people. I got to put myself out there to where people will view me as an expert or as an authority on the sport. And I'll have a chance to meet with new experts, because you could put me in the room with a black belt world champion. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be excited as talking to you. The honest God truth. Yeah. I like experts from other fields. I want to talk to these people. And so I was making myself available for opportunities beyond the gym, because the gym was so stressful that all I could think of is that maybe one day I'm going to hire if I have other things going on that are doing well, I can hire a coach and I can teach the classes that I feel like I need to teach. Oh. And then we have somebody at the front desk or management. So I'm constantly working to get financially stable, and to still stay in the sport that tried to kick me. I feel like the sport tried to kick me out 30 times, and I held on like crazy.
A friend of mine, very successful now. He was a very skilled baseball player and was about to go professional, and he hit almost an inside the park home run. And when he went to slide at home base, he shattered his shin and his career was over. And we were talking one day, and he was still living from that pain. And he said it felt like it was taken from me.
Yeah.
And I said to him, after looking at his life now,
right,
I said, do you think God needed another baseball player?
Right.
Or a man like yourself who actually funds one of the largest programs in Haiti to help people in need because of your company here today? And he just got quiet and emotional, because those are the lies that stick with us. I talk to a lot of athletes as well, and I ask them the same pressure. They don't make it to the NFL or the NBA, you know, like, what else am I'm going to do? So do you think you were created to play football, created to be a basketball player?
Right.
And they always get quiet because our identity is based on performing instead of just existing. And that's why so many of us, when we get to the age where we can't do what we used to do, we feel worthless because we were living from that instead of the things that are timeless, or not timeless because we all pass away, but that matters the most.
I will not be mastered by my emotions, instead I'll rule over them. Is probably the thing I'm the worst at, is ruling over my emotions, because you do become attached to kids. You know what I mean? Like, you help a kid, you help this person, or you become attached to student, adult, whatever it is. And when they, like, so you're not their parent. So you just have to realize that. Like, that's when you tell them, like, I can be the best person in the world. The moment that they get that their parent doesn't want them to bring them to me anymore, I'm also the worst person. I'm so the best person in the world, the worst person in the world, because of my whatever contract or whatever that's saying, like, hey, you guys are gonna stay with me so I can actually put my effort into you.
Right.
Right. And it goes, well, how do I separate the emotion that's good, that's giving the kids this really big part of me, but how do I not let that also tear me apart? Because it's gonna happen. So, it's gonna happen. And
it's a good question. So we have a saying that there's, even though this is regular doors, but if we were in a cave, at the mouth of the cave, there's no doors.
Right.
So you can come in and out whenever you need to.
Right.
And that's a saying, and that's a mentality we have as teachers here, is that tell the students all the time, we're not making you stay here.
Right.
Yeah. When you leave, you can go. When you come back, we're going to treat you the same as if you just came.
Well, imagine there's another cave of Adelon, right?
Yes.
And they go to that cave of Adel.
Yeah.
That's where it kind of hurts. That's where you feel the like the stab. You're like,
yeah.
Why is it? Well, like we do the citizen.
I got
what I mean.
So for me, so I've had kids, I have friends who are in jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Like, if that's what you want to do, our focus isn't to create martial artists, but to create comprehensive men of the Most High. And so we use martial arts to help them navigate through their emotions and mental health issues, etc. But if there was another cave and they did exactly what we did, and the student wanted to go into parents, I had to learn a long time ago through other things. So as a producer, you have an artist who may go with someone else, and it doesn't, I don't look at it as I'm not good enough for you. Maybe this time has expired. I've had mentors in my entire life, pretty much, I'm thankful for, who are men, but none of them I stayed with my entire life. They were all for seasons. And so I look at all of our students who come in here. We only have them for 18 months as far as on the mats, but then they go through other trainings, dining etiquette, grooming etiquette, etc. But we don't keep them all,
right.
And so I don't take it personal. I know, like, what is my role in that moment? Like, how can I make the most of this moment? And that's by staying in it and not worrying if they're going to leave, worrying if, we didn't have AC in here for a minute. I thought I would have to shut classes down because it would get over about 106 degrees in here.
Yeah.
I learned to really cast all of that with my relationship with God. I give it all to Him. And my identity is not in here. Someone, Malachy, told me, this is your life's work.
All right.
I'm like, I'm not dead yet. How can you say this is my life's work?
Yeah.
And so people are quick to say, this is what you're great at. This is what you do. This is what you've mastered or you're expert at. I could do something in the last 3 years of my life that could be my life's work.
The value that I put over top of the monetary value is what I did beyond the monetary, beyond the transactional. So some people are quick to make it a transactional thing.
Okay.
But there's people that ask for more. They want you more involved with their child. They want you to care about their kid.
Yeah,
They want, and these are things that I don't mind because I do enjoy the kids. But then at the moment that they have a different opinion, it's transactional.
when they just ready to go.
Yep. Okay, it's cool. We're going to do this instead.
Mm.
And it's like, but you were messaging me. You were, about the kid and how they were doing this and that.
That's good. I got it.
And I developed this kid from this part or here, and I've given nothing but myself and my, And it was, well, okay, now you're transactional. So we want you to be emotionally involved. We want you to be invested in our kid. We want you to be invested in us as students. But when it's my turn to change my mind, I would like to take all that back and you to understand that it's transactional.
So we're in a similar place. And so even as I'm working with students, and just say the parent decides to take them out.
Yeah.
I find the next one that comes in.
Yeah.
And I
So you regulate the emotional part of it.
I understand it's my identity is not here.
Yeah. So so how long have we been talking about this subject, right? About that emotional peel. But then we moved on from the wife. You know what I mean? So like you see the stress and the emotions and the things that I build up, there are a million fires, and I think everything's okay over here, but I should have been prioritizing my relationship, but I'm too busy I would say scattershot. And it was like I'm trying to either fix something that's like my pain is with my back, or I'm trying to write a new curriculum, or I'm trying to be valued in some way. Like I put out instructionals for income.
I'm going to cut you off. So you said valued in some way.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to just get you to, I see a lot just from our conversation. And even though your father didn't reject you, because clearly he was in your life, but yet you also mentioned that he was always in his office. And so one thing my psychotherapist taught me is that children are great interpreters, but poor processors. So in other words, if your father's working long hours, to him, he has to do that to provide for your home, and you won't have lights and heat if he doesn't work. In your mind, you could say, Dad must don't love me because he's always worked. You're constantly interpreting with a scenario because the brain really isn't mature until we're 25.
Right.
All right. So I'm saying that I believe just from our time together and just the previous conversations we had, that it's possible that you're living from the younger you.
Right.
And that's what your whole identity is, because finally, especially what you went through with the surgeries and then a lot of your fighters going to other coaches as well when you got injured. And those are moments in your life that hurt you and shape us in ways that sometimes we miss.
Yeah. I think that definitely the injuries and that whole season of everything was changing, flawed. And I know it is. And I know it's not healthy. And I know there's other things, but I know that that's a part of something that it's not been resolved. It's been fixed. It's patched over with success. So I'm successful because I would not go down without fighting. I fought every moment of it, but I know that that's a huge part of my life, and also part of my life that's probably affected my marriage. Because if you're thinking about yourself so much, you know what I mean? Like, because it's hard not to when you're thinking, ow, 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 it's hard to be like, well, I'm having regular clear thoughts and I can just think about something and I'll see my wife and I should go over there, hug her and give her a kiss and tell her she looks amazing and things I would want to do, of course, but it's just, I may have the thought and then all of a sudden it's gone in a second and I'm stressing about 50.
It's because you've covered the wound. So if I had your arm and you were cut here and it's starting to heal and you have a bandage over it. So the business is successful and you're trying to maintain it. But as soon as something hits against it, you feel it. And now you're back to fighting to protect it.
Yeah.
And so instead of allowing it to heal, taking that bandage off and doing what it takes to clean it out and then to put ointment on it so that it can heal, as men, we're used to covering it. It's a saying in the scriptures, iron sharpens iron, so as one man sharpens another. And to sharpen a sword, as men, we would never know if our swords are dull because we keep them sheathed. But as soon as I pull or draw my sword and you see my edge isn't sharp, now you can sharpen it.
Right.
But as long as we hide that, as long as we keep that wound covered, especially with those who we know love us, it'll never heal. And then now when we get to the age where we can't move and can't teach, now we can't cover it as much. We're more vulnerable. And then now we feel worthless. And that rabbit trail right there is something that, unfortunately, many men have taken their lives walking down. And so I see just, you're still holding on to that past.
Yeah.
You're still holding on to that. So you can't really embrace the blessings of your business. Like you're saying, it's successful now.
I'm successful.
Yeah. And so, but your identity is wrapped up in it because for so long you had to fight just to get where you are.
Right.
And so as my friend in the UFC, he was fighting from his past instead of the blessings of his present. It's nothing, we all need to fight at times,
Right.
but we can't stay in that mindset because then there's no room for what I call the lamb, where we can just take everything in.
Right.
And we always want to be beasts. We hear, everybody got to be a beast, but the king of beasts to me is the lion. The lion rests 18 to 20 hours a day. He protects the pride when the predator comes in, but he doesn't stay in fight mode. But you have the ability to pivot, because I saw it on the mat when you were working with my students. It's about connecting the principles in jiu-jitsu to your life. You have it.
Yeah.
But you have to undo what you've been deceived to believe your worth is.
Mm-hmm.
And when I learned to first acknowledge my vulnerabilities, especially with my wife, letting her know when I'm fearful, when I don't feel good, I don't feel, say, adequate to do certain things. We can't keep holding that, man. If not, where is it going? It's only being internalized. And considering what you've been through with your wife, that should be the one person you can truly drop.
She's the number one person.
Yeah, and you can
just got me.
Clearly you can drop your guard with her. You don't have to stay like this with your wife, and you need that space, man, because you've been fighting your whole life. Even just when I grabbed your arm, your tense hit. Yeah, as minor as it may look that your dad may have been in his office a lot, it was the first thing that you said.
Yeah.
And it's
because my parents weren't affectionate towards my mother in front. Maybe once in a while, but they were husband and wife. You know what I mean? They were mom and dad. They weren't like mom and dad like kissing each other in the kitchen or mom holding.
I didn't see that either. Yeah.
It's just like that. It just wasn't that stuff.
They did the best they knew how. My father, he wasn't malicious, and he loved me, but he could only love me to his capacity.
Right.
What my mother went through, my grandfather was lynched, in 1935, and then her first husband was abusive. He used to slap my brothers with flat sides of butcher knives, and then my brother Larry gets murdered. Okay, and then I'm 3.5 years old at the time. My mother had checked out. If not for our neighbors, she probably would have killed herself. She was like literally, from what I hear, wasn't there.
Right.
And so how can I judge her for not really being affectionate to me?
Right.
My mother loved me, don't get me wrong. But my psychotherapist asked me one day, he says, Jason, when you got injured, who put the Band-Aid on? And it was always me, and I never knew that. I would go home, Ma, I just cut myself. She'd say, Band-Aids are in the cabinet.
Yeah.
She was there.
Yeah.
But I never received, and so no wonder I found myself performing. Like, yeah, my mother does love me, but she had a fear-based mentality because her son got murdered.
Yeah.
She doesn't want me to do anything that's risky.
Yeah.
Even this nonprofit, to do what I do, it took some risk.
Right.
But I allowed her fear to be transferred into me. And I catch myself sometimes being hesitant to take a move because I'm stuck again in those childhood years that shaped me. So I look at you, clearly a great guy, and I admire you. Your work as not only just a jiu-jitsu coach, but just as a man, but you're much bigger than jiu-jitsu. You're much bigger than being a coach.
Right.
And because it has a time limit. You weren't created just to do that.
Right.
And so that's my encouragement to you, is to find why you exist, why you're here. And it's bigger than the gym, because we can't do this forever, man. If our identity is here, we're going to stay here longer than we should.
Right.
And then we'll possibly miss the other opportunity to evolve as men. And that's what I don't care what you're doing, if you're a lawyer, doctor, entrepreneur, we always have to be willing to evolve. And we are being taught in the media that there is some type of mastery of manhood. And it isn't. I've never been a grandfather. One day, prayerfully, I will be to lean into a man who's been a grandfather to help me, learn how to walk that path.
Right.
But if I'm just stuck on just being a father, this is me, I'm a master fatherhood.
Right.
All of this desire, that's why so many of these courses sell, like the motivational courses, because we're trying to be this like ultimate,
Right.
but we have to constantly changes. If we're not willing to move, just like if we were rolling, if I'm sticking with trying to get an arm bar on you, I'm going to lose every time. I'm going to get tapped out every time. It's no different with life. I have to make the most of each moment, man.
Right.
And so, like I said, you got it. You just got to let go of what happened that's behind you,
Right.
so that you can truly walk where you are, man. Yep. Bless you, man. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.